and welcome to a special edition of Banfield. I'm Elizabeth Smart, and tonight for Ashleigh, this is an important and personal hour for me. We will be bringing you terrifying stories of survival. Children abducted through no fault of their own, forced to endure things no child should ever have to endure, all at the hands of predators who have chosen to commit heinous crimes and steal innocence. As many of you already know, my own story of survival began in 2002 when I was only 14 years old. Kidnapped from the safest place I could imagine, my bedroom. In just a bit, I'll share with you how I survived my own private nightmare and how I use every single day through the Elizabeth Smart Foundation to try and bring hope to others who have experienced something similar. My dad, Ed Smart, joins the conversation too. I will also bring you the incredible story of Tanya Cash. Tanya, like me, was 14 when she was abducted. Her captor was a security guard at her school, and he kept her locked in his bedroom for a decade. She couldn't leave that room, even to use the bathroom. She had to use a bucket. Tanya will join me live this hour. You might also remember Charlotte, who was just 9 when she vanished while camping with her family in upstate New York late last year. The whole country was on pins and needles, hoping and praying as every hour went by that she would be safely returned. She was rescued roughly 48 hours later. We all know how crucial those first 48 hours are. Charlotte is also a survivor, and her mother and aunt are here tonight. It's a busy night, so Ashleigh, thanks for letting me sit here, and let's get started. The night of my own abduction started off the same way that every other night went. I mean, it was a busy time of year. It was the end of the school year, and nothing really set it apart from any other day. I remember we went through the usual family routine. I remember going to bed. I shared a room with my little sister, Mary Catherine. We even shared a bed. I remember falling asleep, never considering that my life could change. And the next thing that I remember was waking up to a man's voice, which at first I didn't respond because how could that possibly be happening in my own bedroom? So I just lay there, and then the voice spoke again, saying the same words again, saying, "I have a knife at your neck, don't make a sound, get up and come with me." And in those moments, it felt unreal. It felt like this couldn't actually be happening, except I could feel something cold and sharp lying across my neck. I could feel someone's hand on my arm trying to pull me out of bed. And I realized that my nightmares were real. They were inside my bedroom. I was taken up into the mountains behind my home. I mean, less than 4 miles from my house. And I was brought to this secret hidden campsite. It was pretty difficult to get to. And almost the first thing that happened to me was when I got there was I was stripped and I was forced to put on a robe, and then I was told that I was now this man's wife, which of course I didn't think could happen. I was immediately raped. Did not matter how much I begged or pleaded. And the crazy thing about it is that I was kidnapped by a husband and wife, a man and a woman, and they found that the best way to control people around them was by manipulating religion. So from day one, almost hour one, they were telling me things like I was chosen, that I should be grateful. And for the next 9 months, that's how they justified everything they did to me during that time period. And sometimes it was really hard. I wouldn't say I ever fully lost hope, but there were some pretty low times. I mean, I was raped daily, often multiple times. I mean, I was withheld food. I was withheld, water was withheld from me. There were a lot of times that I really wondered if I would just die naturally because hope seemed so dim of me being rescued. But during those 9 months, my captors took me to California for the winter. Miraculously, I was able to convince them to return to Utah, which we hitchhiked back to Utah. That was a whole adventure. But we were walking up State Street in Salt Lake on the first day that we were back in Utah when all of a sudden a police car pulled up, and another one, and I don't even remember how many officers jumped out of the car, but they ran over and started asking questions. And initially, I was too scared to respond. And it wasn't until they separated me from my captor that I was finally able to admit who I was. I remember being brought to the police station where I was held in a small room, and I really didn't know what was going on. But I remember my dad walking into the room. Well, more like running into the room, more like just appearing into the room, really. And he came over and he just picked me up in the biggest hug. And I remember for the first time in 9 months, that's when I felt safe, was when my dad was finally hugging me, because I knew that no matter what the future held, it was going to be okay, because he was going to be there and he was going to protect me, and no one would ever be able to hurt me ever again the way that these two people had hurt me the last 9 months. Now, my story doesn't end there. I mean, my story is still being written today, but certainly between then and now, there's been many ups and downs. And certainly one of those roller coasters was the whole justice system that we went through, the trial, and that was hard. And I think you could ask any survivor and ask them, do you feel like justice was truly served? And I don't think anyone would say yes, because even though my case is so rare in that it was successfully prosecuted, I didn't get my childhood back. Those 9 months that were taken from me weren't given back. So I feel incredibly grateful that my captors were prosecuted, that Brian Mitchell will never be released from prison. He'll never be able to hurt anyone ever again. But even more than that, I'm just so grateful now that I have the family that I have today. And joining me now is my dad, Ed Smart. My dad is one of the most special people to me in the world, and he has been a mentor and an exemplar and someone that I have wanted to emulate my entire life, who has always put his needs aside and tried to do what is right for the world around him. And so, Dad, thanks so much for joining me tonight.
It's my pleasure.
One of the questions I was kind of worried about is, before my kidnapping, do you remember hearing of other kidnapping stories? Did you follow? Was that something that was even on your radar?
No, I don't think that most people feel that there is the possibility that that's ever going to happen to them. And that's certainly, the case in your abduction. When Mary Catherine came into the room and said, "Dad, I think somebody has taken Elizabeth," my first thought was, you're just having a bad nightmare. Just calm down and we'll get it taken care of. So, I got up and checked and went into your room, and of course you weren't there. And I started going from room to room, and as I came downstairs, and your mother had, just followed me down, and Mary Catherine once again had said, "You're not going to find her. A man has taken her." And I think it was at that point the reality started sinking in, that something actually had happened. So for any parent out there who probably thinks that it can never happen to me, that's how we felt. And I certainly felt like there was the possibility that, you were just hiding somewhere, or you were downstairs or in one of the other kids' rooms, but that was not the case. And as that reality sunk home, the depth of the craziness of the whole abduction started hitting home, and it certainly hit home for your mother. And I don't think I've ever seen her in such pain as I did going into our living room and sitting down on the sofa and just going into this probably a mode that you were currently in at that same time. Unbelievable.
I mean, I can't even imagine, now as a parent myself, I can't even imagine how I would feel if I found out that one of my kids was kidnapped today. I think, and I'm curious to know, how did you know what to do? How did you keep my story in the media? I look back and I think it played such a role in bringing me home, keeping my name out there. How were you able to captivate the media's attention to cover my story as much as you did?
Well, I think that one of the things that happened in your case, you were the first what we called Rachel Alert in Utah, which was the Amber Alert. And in so doing, that brought a fair amount of publicity and the push to basically make the entire national Amber Alert available to all victims, because I think it's one of the first lines of defense that any parent has, to be able to basically tap into all of the people that are around you and the whole nation, to bring an awareness to the child being missing is huge. So, you know, to us, we were constantly looking, and we knew that one of the things that we had to do was, one, to stay out there in front of the news, to try to tell new stories about you, have new pictures, bring new videos. And of course, it was just the beginning of the internet and the web, and that just became huge and is even bigger today, because when you think about trying to find you, I mean, that was our goal. And the police, to them, it was a matter of eliminating everyone, eliminating other possibilities to try to get down to, you know, what actually happened to you. So I think that being able to call on all of the people out in our neighborhood, in Utah and across the nation, was huge in bringing you back.
And I think it's really important for parents to hear, how do you best interact with law enforcement? I mean, it's usually their job to look at who the people are most likely, and usually they do look at the families first. What is your advice to parents who are in that situation and working with law enforcement?
I think a lot has happened since the time you were abducted. The CART teams, child abduction response teams, have come into play, and that is a huge thing. I mean, one of the biggest frustrations was to see all the different law enforcement agencies out there and not see them coordinated together. I remember one of my good friends, Corey Lyman, saying, "Ed, you know, I know you're not going to believe this, but we have never worked so well together." And that was very frustrating, because, you know, you hope that when a child goes missing, everyone puts aside their egos, and it's not about who found you, but did we find you? And that's what happened in the end. And I think the coordinated effort of so many law enforcement agencies now makes a huge difference. And when you take that along with empowering the public to come on board to try and help find a child, it allows so much more information to flow, especially with the internet. You know, people that have seen things, people that might know something, they feel more open to be able to say it without revealing themselves. So that's good and bad. You know, we had so many people that were kind of crazy that, you know, thought they knew. I remember the second day that you were missing, one of the police officers came up and said, you know, this woman down here, down the steps, claims that, you know, you've walled Elizabeth up in the house. And I said, you know, please come in, please find her. You know, there wasn't anything that we weren't willing to do, and being willing to cooperate with law enforcement is huge. To make them part of your team and trying to find your child is so important. You know, there are all sorts of obstacles that come out.
I think you're so right. The focus does need to stay on the child. I guess for my final question, and in like 20 seconds, what would you say to the families who still have missing children who are trying to maintain hope?
You know, you can't give up hope until there's a body. And I think that, you know, certainly I had an impression that you were still out there, that we couldn't give up, and that there was no way we would let ourselves go to that point. And so for every parent out there, I think, you know, keeping your child's face out there, being able to, you know, share new information about your child, to engage the public, that's really what it's all about, is engaging the public. So that's the most important, whether it's through the internet, through the news, through media.
Well, Dad, thank you so much for joining me. That's Ed Smart, my dad. And still to come, a major break-in, a murder case that made headlines across the country. Rachel Morin, a mother of 5, was jogging and was killed in August of last year. Tonight, police have a suspect in custody who they believe has murdered people in multiple countries. The details next. For months, police believe Rachel Morin's murder may be connected to a previous assault in Los Angeles, but now it also appears to be part of an even bigger and international crime spree. Morin, a mother of 5, was found murdered near a hiking trail in Maryland in August of 2023. On Friday, police arrested Victor Antonio Martinez Hernandez, a 23-year-old citizen of El Salvador, who crossed into the United States illegally in February of last year. He's charged with first-degree murder and first-degree rape in Morin's case. They caught him using DNA. In November, authorities linked the Morin case to a brutal assault in Los Angeles of a 9-year-old girl and her mother. After that assault, the suspect was caught on this surveillance video. And in February, investigators released these police sketches the FBI later used genealogy testing to match the suspect's DNA to potential family members living in El Salvador who identified him. Authorities in El Salvador say he also murdered a young woman there in January 2023, then fled to the U.S. in February. That means he allegedly murdered a woman in El Salvador, assaulted a 9-year-old girl and her mother in Los Angeles, and murdered Rachel Morin in Maryland before police caught up with him in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm joined now by Rachel Morin's brother, Michael Morin, and the family's attorney, Randolph Rice. Michael, what's your reaction to the arrest? Do you feel like you have the closure you need or that guilty verdict? How are you feeling?
I mean, initially when I heard the news, I was elated. I was just so thankful. It was an answer to, months of prayers. Just very grateful that he's caught right now. And I know it's just the next stage of this process, and it's going to be a long road going forward. But right now, I'm just, very grateful, answer to prayer.
Michael, the suspect is being extradited to Harford County, Maryland now. Will he be tried for Rachel's murder? Do you know?
I spoke with investigators, and I believe, that's my understanding, is that he's going to be tried for murder and rape of my sister before any other charges.
I think it's easy when we listen to the news to just think that these stories are far away, or just to think of them as stories, but you're a real person. Rachel was a real person. She left behind a family. How are all of you doing today?
I think we're all grieving a little different, but it's the hardest for the 5 children. So family's spending a lot of time with them and, just being there for them.
I want you to know personally, I just send all my thoughts and all my prayers to you and your entire family. I have not experienced murder, but I did experience having my family ripped away from you. And I know how devastating that can be, and wondering if you'll ever see them again. So please know that I will continue to keep you and all of your family in my thoughts. Randolph, 10 months after Rachel's murder, are you surprised it's taken so long to identify the suspect?
Early on, we thought that it did take a little bit longer than expected. When you have a DNA hit and you have a doorbell camera and then ultimately the sketch, you would think in most cases it's a slam dunk. But the problem was they didn't have a name to link to that DNA profile. But I got to tell you, the detective in the Harford County Sheriff's Department, the FBI, they kept with the facts, they kept with the case, and they pushed forward. And really, they're the ones to thank for this capture of this suspect, because they did the hard work. They were patient, and they ended on a high note with catching this individual in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Do you feel like testing the DNA should have been maybe like the first thing they did, and using the genealogy?
Well, they did that. They did obtain that DNA result, but the genealogy does take time. And that was something that they were saying along the way, that, look, it just takes time to work through the genealogy. It's not an overnight process like a DNA test to match. So we understand, obviously, 10 months seems like forever. And I'm sure Michael can say that it's been an agonizing 10 months. But there's a little bit of hope, obviously, that he's been captured. He'll be brought back to Maryland within the next week or two. He'll be go before the case will go before a grand jury, where he will no doubt be indicted. He'll be held without bail, and ultimately have to make the decision as to take a plea in this case or go to trial. That's something that we'll find out in the future.
Do you know, or have you heard if anyone was helping him hide during this whole 10-month search for him?
The sheriff's department has indicated that there was a connection through some gangs. There are some known gangs in America from that region. That was one of the ways he was able to travel around the country, is a belief that the sheriff's department does have. So I think all that will come out as they do more investigation. And this is important that we're still talking about this case, because there are still facts they're collecting. There's still evidence they're collecting. They want to put together a profile and a picture as to how this man came from El Salvador and made it to Maryland.
Do you think there are more victims out there?
I believe there are, and here's why. We've got a time frame or difference between March of 2023 and Rachel's death in August of 23, and then August up until the date he was captured this past Friday. A man who kills in El Salvador, attacks in Los Angeles, kills in Maryland. There has to be more victims out there. We're hoping those victims come forward. Hopefully they feel safe now because this man is captured, that he can cause no harm to them, that they're willing to come forward, and also that other people have come forward to make a timeline, to put more evidence together as to how he got to where he got, how he got to Maryland in August of 23 to take Rachel's life on that trail.
Well, like you said, I think it is so important to keep having this conversation and reminding people, if they have any information, if they know any more victims, please come forward. So Michael Morin and Randolph Rice, thank you. Still to come, kidnapping isn't always something that happens in a busy crowd or in the middle of the night. It can be gradual, where the offender slowly builds a relationship with a vulnerable child over time. After the break, you'll meet a woman who, like me, was kidnapped at the age of 14, but not by a stranger. It was by someone who worked at her middle school and who held her captive for a decade. Her story of survival and courage is next. In 1996, Tanya Cash was in the 8th grade at Cornell Middle School in McKeesport, Pennsylvania. But instead of living a carefree life, a 14-year-old, she was dealing with a chaotic home life of abuse and neglect, with parents in the middle of a messy divorce. At school, she forged an odd friendship with a 38-year-old security guard named Tom Hose. He listened to her problems, made her laugh, and showered her with gifts. These were all steps in the grooming process. Then, their relationship took a dark turn. Hose forced her into his elderly parents' home, where he lived, and held her for a decade. Locked in his bedroom, he sexually abused and tortured her at will. In 2006, at age 24, Tanya found the courage to escape when Hose allowed her to work a part-time job at a convenience store. Tanya's story of survival is so powerful and important. I helped produce a Lifetime film about it called The Girl Locked Upstairs, the Tanya Cash story. Take a look.
I heard what you said about me.
I swear I wouldn't do that.
Stop lying!
Hey, clear out of here. Stephanie Darwood, principal, now.
Why is everyone here so mean?
We're friends, aren't we?
You're my only friend.
For you, Tanya, I'd do anything.
Tanya, what are you doing here?
I can't stay at home. My mom turned me away, so I need to stay someplace else.
No one can know you're here.
Okay.
This is the only way you can be safe. Don't make any noise.
This isn't gonna be forever, I promise.
You've got to take control of your life.
That's not my life.
What excuse do you think you could have for breaking my rules?
I can't go on like this.
I'm joined now by my friend and someone I greatly admire, Tanya Cash. Tanya, it's been 18 years since you courageously escaped. Do you look back at it and wonder how you did it? How did you survive it? I mean, more than a decade.
I know. I look back and I wonder how I survived it. It's crazy. But by the grace of God, I got through it.
No, you're just such an incredible woman. You're so strong. I mean, you kept going every single day. Your story, it shows and teaches so much about grooming and mental control. And I mean, what, in your words, do you feel like are signs that parents and friends should watch for?
They need to watch for the signs where, if an adult who, what happened to me was he was 38 and I'm 14, and sitting down talking and having a conversation, and he gave me jewelry, he gave me money, he gave me cigarettes, he gave me things that I had, that a 38-year-old man should not have been giving a 14-year-old girl. And that's one of the ways, one of the big ways of grooming, and how that came about and everything.
But I mean, you're so right. We all need to pay attention to the relationships around us and note when something's different or not right, when there is extra attention being paid to someone that probably shouldn't be paid to. You also feel your story helps women in abusive relationships. How?
So women, unfortunately, in abusive relationships, it's a cycle, and they do things to keep them in the relationship. They buy them things, they apologize for the abuse, and it's a never-ending cycle. And I'm hoping by women seeing my story to break that cycle and to get out.
I think you're right. And we chatted before that, I mean, we both experienced that control over us to the point that, I mean, I can say that I know that those mental bonds are stronger than physical bonds. I mean, I experienced them both. And it becomes, I mean, your captors, and what I imagine domestic violence abuse victims experience is that the other person just becomes so powerful. They feel like that they're invincible, that no one can protect you from them. I mean, do you feel like that's how you felt as well?
Oh, that's exactly how I felt. With the mental control, like he was in charge, he was in control. I did what he told me to do, when, where, how. He told me to jump, it was how high.
I mean, I just know that your story is so powerful, and so many people still need to hear it, because it does show what grooming looks like. It does show how dangerous these situations can be, how easy it is for a vulnerable child to be targeted. And now you have a beautiful life. And can you just tell me, how do you feel about life now? I mean, what does your life look like? Where does your strength keep coming from?
Oh, my strength, I have to say my strength comes from my husband, is my rock now. I found true love and what love is, just like with you as well, and he keeps me going, I mean, he is always encouraging me and giving me support, and it's so wonderful. And life now is great. I have stepchildren of his, and then I have grandchildren through my stepson. So, I have a busy life of being a grandmother.
I think having a supportive family and a supportive network around you really does make all the difference as to whether you come back and you reclaim your life and you thrive and you're happy versus sort of the opposite end of the spectrum, the negative cycle, downward cycle that can happen. So my last question for you, Tanya, is to anyone who is watching this or anyone who watches your story or hears about it and they find themselves in a similar situation, what would your words of encouragement or advice be to them?
That, how I explained all of the red flags and everything, and, to keep a mindful watch out for those things and control, and, be careful if there's any isolation as well, because that is something that, happens in an abusive relationship, Will's the isolation, to stay to only him, that person. So, by my story, I want them to break free of that and to get out of that.
Well, Tanya, you are amazing, and I adore you. So thank you for joining me tonight. And Ashleigh, if you're watching, another big thank you for letting me sit in tonight. Still to come. So how does a little girl even start to heal and live a normal life again after kidnapping? Some victims of that life-shattering crime are throwing off the word and choosing survivor instead. Joining me next, the mother and aunt of 9-year-old survivor. Just months after her ordeal in upstate New York, they join me live right here next. It's not even been 9 months since a family in upstate New York experienced the same terrifying moment that hit my family more than 20 years ago. Their little girl, a 9-year-old named Charlotte, had simply disappeared from their camping trip. Charlotte's family didn't know it yet, but she'd been abducted and locked inside a camper. After about 48 hours, police managed to track down where Charlotte was being held, and they set her free. Her kidnapper and assailant pleaded guilty and is in prison, hopefully until he dies. But tonight is not about that case or that investigation. Tonight is about Charlotte and her survival and her healing. Joining me live in the NewsNation studio, Tricia Senna, Charlotte's mother, and Janae Luciani Senna, Charlotte's aunt. They are not only helping navigate Charlotte's recovery and life after this nightmare, but they are sharing their story with the world on the podcast Sisterhood of the Survivors, available on all the major podcast sites. So thank you, first of all, both of you ladies, for joining me. And I love your shirts. You say with no fear. I love that. How did you come up with that? What does that symbolize and embody to you?
So when Charlotte wrote her impact statement, she signed it with no fear, comma, Charlotte. So she was really making a point.
Love that.
Yes. And I think she's living her life that way too, since this happened. So even I know that this is not super comfortable of an experience for Tricia because she doesn't work in TV like I do, but she looks at Charlotte as an inspiration and as an example that she can do hard things. Yep. Because we have a purpose with this. So
I think that just speaks so much to who she is. And even today, I mean, my first question was going to be, how is Charlotte today? But that almost feels redundant because you're saying that's how she signed her victim impact statement. I mean, how amazing. That's incredible. I mean, so you've come out really strongly that she is a survivor and not a victim. And I just want to hear you explain in your words, what do you feel like the difference is between a victim and a survivor?
So when I hear the word victim, it feels harsh and it feels hard and just sad. Like usually when you hear victim, you feel sadness and empathy. And I really want Charlotte to be seen as a survivor, for one, because she works really, really hard to be a survivor every day. And just think about how we talk about people who overcome anything really difficult in life, like cancer, for example. We say they're a cancer survivor. And Charlotte is a survivor of a really terrible experience, but she is surviving. She's working hard every day, and I'm going to follow her motto here, without fear. That's what she's doing. She's taking this and she's saying, this is not going to define me. I'm a survivor.
I love that, and I think you're exactly right. I think that is what sets survivors. That's what makes a survivor, is that mental mindset of, I'm not going to let this ruin my life. I'm not going to allow fear to stop me from doing what I want to do. And I guess in that same vein, would you say that that's how she's living her life? I mean, does she have normal 9-year-old summer plans?
Of course she does, yes. She came home and she looked at me like right away and she said, I just decided this is not gonna ruin my life and I'm just gonna move forward. And that was like 2 hours after being home. So she has always made this really conscious decision that this wasn't defining her and she was moving forward, and she's doing hard things and things out of her comfort zone. So like this summer, she's doing a play. And I think it's just because she now feels like, I can do this. I can do hard things. I can be brave. I overcome something that was really scary and tragic. And now I'm going to go do things and step out of my comfort zone. Like I said, she's doing a play, which for anybody that knows her, it's like really mind blowing to think that she's going to do this, but she's doing it. She's owning it. She's loving it.
I mean, I just think that speaks so much to the kind of family that you are. I mean, I know I have a 9-year-old daughter myself, and I try to tell her all the time, you can do hard things. You're so strong. You can do hard things. And just what you've said about how she just immediately came out and was like, I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor. I'm not going to live in fear. This isn't going to define me, kind of thing. I mean, that's everything that I want for my own child, and I hope that's how she would respond. I just think that just speaks to the family that you are, and this incredible young woman that you're raising. On a little bit maybe of a more difficult direction, how does Charlotte process what has happened to her? I mean, does she talk about it, or is that something that she chooses not to? Does she focus on the here and now, or does she find it helpful to revisit the past and work through everything that happened?
So the way trauma works is it's going to take your experience and it literally just smashes it into a million pieces, and it'll come back to you when you're ready for it to come back to you. So sometimes our conversations are every single night, and sometimes they are, a week in between. But I am a huge advocate of talking about our feelings and talking through things. Like I tell Charlotte all the time, you have to pull the weeds so the flowers can grow. And her weeds are her fears, the things that she's afraid of, or, just things creeping in after, months of her not thinking of them. It's like, you got to get them out. You got to talk about it. And I feel that's really important for healing. So talking is a big part of our days, and just trying to get as much of that out as we can.
Speaking of talking, tell me about the sisterhood of, tell me about the podcast, the Sisterhood of the Survivors. It's not only Charlotte's story, but your whole family's. Tell me about it.
Well, I think the ripple effect, and you probably know this, Elizabeth, firsthand, but the ripple effect of something like this on families is huge. So it's like everybody's experiencing their own trauma and experiencing their own, stuff with this. And on top of it, with such a high-profile case, we're getting inundated with the stories. So just a quick note on the whole victim and survivor thing. We know that one day she's going to Google her name, and we wanted her to have these stories come up about all the good that her family's doing, good that has, kind of come out of this, the activism, that sort of thing, as opposed to the stories that are her being this person's victim. So that was really important to us. So we were kind of talking every day pretty much, talking about different things that we could do moving forward. And we one day were like, you know, should we start speaking out more about this? And we were working, talking with NCMEC, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and I wrote a blog for them, and we were trying to figure out different things that we could do to, you know, use this kind of new platform. And Tricia said, why don't we make our own platform? And so that's how the podcast idea kind of was born. And in a way, it's really just letting people in on the conversations that we've been having already for the past almost 9 months. But we also...
I think that is...
Yes. We also plan to bring people on, too.
So amazing.
It's not just us talking.
That is so amazing. And may every survivor have as supportive a family as Charlotte does. Thank you, Tricia Senna and Janae Luciani Senna. Still to come, it's been 21 years since I was rescued from my kidnappers. And now, as a mother of 3, there are practices I have in place to keep my children safe from what I faced. And you can too. And when we come back, the 3 things you need your child to know, no matter what their age. Don't go anywhere. The 3 things that I want my children to know, no matter what, is number 1, I love them unconditionally. There isn't anything that they could ever do that would make me stop loving them. The second thing that I want them to know is that heaven forbid anything ever happens to them. But if it does, it is not their fault. They didn't do anything wrong. And the third thing I want them to know is that they can come to me and ask for the bubble of safety, which is where they can tell me anything they need to, and I won't respond emotionally for 24 hours. I will focus on helping them to get through whatever they need and mentoring them and be the best support that I can be. Those are my 3 points of advice. And so please remember them. And I'll be back tomorrow night. And make sure you stay tuned for Chris Cuomo next.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.